Meet your new go-to for a fresh and inclusive approach to health.
Wellness Rebranded is the pod where a dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist combine perspectives to help you redesign your relationship with food, fitness, and your feelings.
Whether we're serving up juicy stories, breaking down the latest research, or dropping practical tips, we'll leave you informed, inspired, and ready to take health-promoting action.
We get you because we are you.
We've joined forces because we know that health isn't one-dimensional, and neither are you.
Tune in for real talk that cuts through the wellness and diet culture hype. Stay for the laughs, the insights, and the feel-good vibes.
Guys, it's our birthday. Wellness Rebranded is turning 2 years old, and we are so excited.
Happy birthday to us.
I have to say, when we started this 2 years ago, I was not sure if we would make it this far or what it would look like in 2 years, but I'm thrilled that we're here.
And we're not going anywhere.
Yep, we're not. So we decided to celebrate with a question and answer episode. So what we're going to do is we have been asking on our social media the past couple of weeks, what your most burning questions are about food, fitness, and your feelings. So we are going to answer all the questions here today on the episode. Maria, you going to start us off with a question?
Yes, we got this question. As a single mom, age 41, to two young boys, what are some practical ways to improve one's energy? That's such a good question, right?
Love it.
Yeah, not a single mom and almost 41. I definitely could use some more energy.
Yeah, so how do we get more energy? One thought that comes to mind that I practice is to schedule breaks during my day. And these breaks can be in a way to restore whatever I'm doing. So it could be a break to take, several deep breaths, intentional deep breaths. It could be a break to even move my body for a little bit and bring energy that way. It could be breaks to just disconnect for a minute of the busyness of the day and just remind myself that I got you. We can do this kind of thing. So the brain is not constantly in action, because that can be draining itself too, not only the two young boys, but also what we do on our everyday busy life.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Mine's going to be eating. Eating enough, eating a balanced meal. Food is fuel, it's energy for your body. So learning how to build balanced, satisfying, satiating meals is going to be huge. And the other thing that immediately jumps into my head is sleep. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but obviously if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not going to have energy. And it can be tricky to sleep. I mean, I know the area or the phase of life I'm in, going through perimenopause, menopause, my sleep is disrupted. So I have to put a lot of intentional energy around that.
So my answer is going to sound so counterintuitive to the question, what gives you more energy? But honestly, exercise gives you more energy. I notice on the days that I work out earlier in the day, I can go way longer before I start feeling like I'm really tired. And even fitting in those little exercise snacks every now and then where it's you have 10 minutes here, let's go for a quick walk. You have 10 minutes there, let's do a little stretch.
I love the idea of an exercise snack.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, we did a whole episode on exercise snacks.
Where was I?
I don't know. You were here.
We got
Not
busted.
paying attention.
I was just going to say we got busted only half listening.
Well, we did one, and we'll link it in the show notes if we can find it. And anyway, I think it's a great way to keep your energy up.
So sleep, nourishment, intentional breaks, or, tailored self-care, little practices can help with energy.
And I would also add stress management, because I feel like when you're super stressed, obviously it drains your mental and physical energy. And so prioritizing that is huge.
And you just made me think about even being aware and monitoring what are our thoughts. Because many times, if the constant message that we're sending ourselves, that I do it, is like, this motherhood thing is hard. Here are my kids again, demanding all these things from me. Believe it or not, that has an effect on your energy levels as well, because it affects your motivation. Therefore, you feel defeated, and the thoughts and the messages, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, and that has an impact.
Yeah, and honestly, that makes me think of just doing something fun. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to get in the grind and be doing the work and taking care of the kids and doing the house and kind of like doing all your to-do list, but taking breaks and socializing, do things that fill your cup.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, rapid fire. What's our next question?
Next question is, what is it about stress that triggers weight gain?
Good question.
Good question.
Well, I would say, first of all, stress hormones are anabolic hormones, so they will potentially lead to weight gain. But also, just when we're stressed, we're probably not sleeping as well. That also increases some hormones, cortisol and others, that can over time lead to weight gain. And then kind of, I guess, a little slightly more out of the box answer is that when we're really stressed, our bandwidth is lowered, right? So it's harder to put together nutrient-dense meals. It's harder to get yourself to the gym. It's harder to kind of do the things to take care of yourself and engage in those health-promoting behaviors.
Yeah, for sure. I also think it's important to manage stress. All right, you're stressed, so take care of it.
And talking about cortisol, can that disrupt your metabolism as well? So sometimes that can make us, have an increased appetite, and usually for specific kinds of food. It could be, right?
That is true. And that was the more everyday way of saying thank you for doing that. What I said in the beginning is yes.
I wasn't listening today either.
Well, I said it in a more sciencey way that clearly was not that obvious.
She's the
For
smart
me,
one.
I'm sorry I'm not that smart, that your sciencey ways don't make it to my brain. Thank you,
You
Elizabeth.
didn't do a very good job putting
Then
it in
talk
a
more
relatable way.
Talk in a simpler way next time so my brain can take it, please. Okay, next question is how to reduce inflammation without popping pills.
Tara, you want to go first?
Yeah, so the fitness industry is full of these crazies that love to get in ice baths. I like to get in hot tubs, just saying. But ice baths are a good way to do that. And if you hate an ice bath, because who doesn't, honestly, you can go to cryotherapy. Have you guys ever done cryotherapy before?
I have not. Can you tell me what it is? I know I should know.
Yeah, so cryotherapy is, they have studios popping up all over the place. Although now it's almost on the downtrend. But it's basically this vertical tanning bed that you stand in that only your head sticks out. And inside the chamber, it's negative whatever 100 degrees. And
That sounds terrible.
yes, it is terrible. It's so cold. And they give you little booties to wear so you don't get frostbite. And you're only in there for 2 minutes. It's really quick compared to an ice bath where you're in there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Okay.
And you're not getting wet. So you just hop in, you get freezing, and then you come out and you have the benefits. It does reduce inflammation, but it's kind of miserable in the process.
All right, I've got a couple of ideas. First one, follow an anti-inflammatory eating pattern, and I would use this as an opportunity to remind everyone to zoom out and look at your eating patterns overall instead of getting super hyper focused on specific meals or nutrients or so-called superfoods, although that's not really a thing. But are you eating lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and lean proteins, omega-3s, getting plenty of antioxidant and polyphenol-rich foods over time? You can also consider your intake of fried foods, sugar, and processed meats, kind of lowering those if you are someone who has a high intake would be really helpful. Alcohol comes to mind. Alcohol can be inflammatory, so reducing alcohol. Tara, this is one you didn't mention, but kind of interesting. So movement in general can help lower inflammation, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
Over-exercising can increase inflammation.
It's a fine line for sure.
Elizabeth, I'm interested in what you just shared about foods for anti-inflammatory foods and just I'm thinking, is that like leafy greens, berries, nuts, salmon kind of thing? And I don't know much about this, but I've also read that could there be some natural supplements as well, like turmeric or ginger, omega-3 supplements? Is that something that could help?
Omega-3s can help lower inflammation. I would steer people towards food sources, not supplements necessarily. But yeah, there are other things like turmeric and some different spices that are also associated with anti-inflammatory responses. And I think it's important to say that not all inflammation is bad. It gets talked about as though, inflammation, we always want to reduce it. It's actually your body's healing response. Some level of acute inflammation is necessary and helpful. It's when it's chronic inflammation and excessive over time that it can start to cause problems.
That's a really good clarification.
Yes, that is good.
We don't have to be so scared of inflammation.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's a pattern, it seems, developing in this episode, although it wasn't intended, but managing stress. Managing chronic stress, and getting plenty of sleep.
Yep.
So this is a great time to maybe just consider those overall things that we've talked about so far, nutrient-dense foods, movement, sleep, stress. How are you doing in those areas? I like to talk to my clients about the lowest hanging fruit. What's the one that you're like, ooh, maybe I could make some beneficial changes there that would be helpful. Maybe this is an opportunity to just consider that.
I'm going to add hydration.
Yeah.
Water intake, right, can help. I'm thinking it can help with inflammation and with many other things. But yes, prioritize sleep, stress management, because chronic stress can be associated with inflammation. So yeah, it's
many things, right?
I know.
Chronic stress, so many things.
Okay, next question. When everything's a mess, where do you start?
Ooh.
Love it.
You tell
I
us.
love this one. Because,
First of all, can we just send a little love to whoever asked that
Yeah.
question?
And whoever didn't ask this question but is feeling like their life right now feels like a mess, let me tell you something. First of all, I'm sorry, I hear you. Second of all, you're not alone. You know how many times I felt my life is a mess?
Yeah, same.
And for the people around me, it's like, oh, Maria has it all together. Look at her doing this and that. People, don't be fooled.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, we tend to compare what we see of other people, but we really have no idea what's going on behind the scenes.
No idea.
I'm laughing because I'm like, maybe we should release the unedited version of this episode. Okay. Side note, guys, it's been a mess.
It has been a hot mess of an episode. We're really making our podcast editor earn her money here. Oftentimes, I would like to say there's probably very little editing that needs to happen, but
True.
This is not one
of them.
So talking about mess, here's two ideas that came to mind when I read this question. One, the importance, and I've learned this with years and through therapy sessions and sessions with my life coach, the impact that grounding can have. I really didn't get it until I got it.
Tell people what you mean by that. I think not everyone may know.
Yes. So for me, grounding is just that pause that you take and that connection with your body in the moment. For me, it's been simple and maybe silly things like rubbing my chest, like, how do you call this? Like rubbing your fingers like that and just taking that deep breath. Sometimes even just go out and feeling the sun in my face. I'm talking in my front door. Like I just go,
Putting
sun
your
in my
feet in the
face, putting the
grass,
feet in the
right?
grass.
Yeah.
That's one thought. And the other one, okay, listen with attention, because this might be the tool that is going to change your life, because it changed mine.
Wow, okay. Well, you have my attention.
Mine too.
Pay attention.
Quite a setup.
Different than you usually do. You're paying attention now.
You do have my attention.
Okay. So 3 words that I've been repeating to myself.
Can I guess?
Yes.
I am here.
No.
Darn. Okay.
I've got this.
No. Coco, you have anything to say?
Let that shit go.
No.
Let that shit go.
All those are good.
Okay.
Very good guesses. You ready?
Ready.
This is temporary.
Oh. So much better.
Yeah.
So my kids are yelling. I hear them upstairs. You're an idiot. I hate you. I rub my chest and I tell myself, this is temporary.
I love that, actually.
I am mad with my husband. We're having a conflict. Da da da. This is temporary. I get bad news about something, or I have I have a back pain, or I'm feeling sad that day. This is temporary. And think about it. I mean,
I love it.
it is temporary, and I can go through this. So there's that mic drop.
That is a mic drop. I love that. And I think, and really what all of those things are doing is help regulating your nervous system.
And offering self-compassion and support. And hey, I don't take credit for this. I learned it from my life coach. I wish I would have come up with this, but I didn't. But that's another idea. What else? So when life is a mess.
So what I was gonna say is when life is a mess, like you just
You
have
could,
to
well,
push
if you're a
through it.
mom, I have just the book for you. Hot Mess to Hot Mom. Can we plug that in there?
Always.
Yes.
Like it is, my viewpoint is very like mom centric, right? Because that's where I'm in the thick of right now. And like when life is a mess, like sometimes you just have to get started. You know, grab a mop and let's go.
And actually, also, sometimes you just need to sit down and fall apart for a minute.
Oh,
Or
yes.
20.
Yes.
Or sometimes both.
Or a whole
in the same day.
or a whole week.
Yeah.
If you fall apart for a whole week, and let me tell you, in terms of mental health, in terms of timeline, you can fall apart for 2 weeks.
And then
Seriously.
And then you have to grab
You
your
cannot
mop.
be diagnosed with almost anything in the mental health world within 2 weeks. So if you want to fall apart for 2 weeks and then get up, hey, it's not even, I wouldn't be concerned.
Yeah. And who's your person?
I want to add one last thing to this
sorry.
question. Prioritize and simplify, right? Like think of what's really important in your life right now and it's in your control, and then focus on that, because maybe fewer tasks a day can help, intentionally managing.
Sometimes I ask myself the question, is this going to matter in 5 years? It seems really big right now. In 5 years, is it going to matter? Sometimes it helps me put it in different perspective.
Okay, so a question that we got that is also pretty common, I feel like Elizabeth hears this frequently, is what if I'm trying to follow intuitive eating, but my body is trying to intuitively tell me to eat nothing but donuts all the time?
Yes.
Or chocolate cake.
Yeah, brownies, whatever, French fries. I do get this question all the time, and often it's a fear response because that person's lived experience is when I've given myself permission to eat those types of foods, I have overeaten them or felt out of control or binged them or whatever. So I would invite you to consider, first of all, whether the foods you feel that way around are the very same foods that you're trying so hard to restrict, deprive yourself of, limit, and avoid. And if so, that's probably part of that psychological restrict binge cycle. The other thing that I would say is, have you had the experience, or consider whether you've had the experience of really being able to tell the difference? In other words, do you feel really attuned to your body's signals? And have you been able to compare, I feel this way when I eat, nutrient dense, balanced meals, and I feel this way when I am kind of only ever eating these other foods? If you don't have that body attunement, it may be that you haven't built that yet, and that's why you're feeling that way. And then the third thing that I would say is intuitive eating is a blend of instinct, emotion, and thought. So it's our gut instincts about, what our bodies are asking for in terms of how hungry we are, how full we are, maybe how food is making us feel. It's our emotions that we bring into our eating decisions. And so there could be some emotional or disconnected eating there, some level of that. And it's our rational thought for what do we know about nutrition? How do we want to take care of our bodies? What are our values around that? And so I would argue that for most people, some level of any number of those things or all of them is going on. And part of the intuitive eating process is healing through and sorting all of that. I've not yet worked with anyone who that ended up being the case.
And can I say something? I thought, Elizabeth, before I met you, that I was in tune or attuned with my body. And it wasn't until I met you and I started listening or learning about intuitive eating and the hunger scale and really listening to the response or the reactions of my body with what I was doing, whether it was food, exercise, whatever, that I realized I wasn't much in tune. So sometimes it is possible that we think we are in connection and really listening to our body, and maybe we have more, more space to grow.
I'll never forget, I had a client one time who was a yogi, and she really felt like she was very connected and in tune with her body, and she talked about so often afterwards that the very after our very first session, I shared with her, I don't think that you're eating enough. After we went through what she was eating, I shared, I don't think you're eating enough. We mapped out a plan for how she could get enough. And she messaged me, and she shortly after, and I forget the specific question that she was asking me, but whatever it was, she was describing something that she was feeling. And I left her a voice memo, and I said, I think what you're describing is hunger. You're feeling hunger. And she laughed about that really, I mean, for months and months and months and years after, and told everyone, I thought I was so connected to my body because I'm a yogi. And she said, Elizabeth literally had to teach me what hunger felt like in my body. And so to your point, yeah, we may not realize that we're disconnected. And it's common because diet culture gets in our heads and messes with us about what we should be eating and how much, and mistrust, like hacking hunger and all the things. All right, last question.
Okay, last question. How do you tackle burnout? I love this one, right? Because burnout, we've been talking more and more about burnout. I don't think it's because it's happening more. It could be, but also because we're becoming more aware. And if we think of burnout, of that chronic physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that sometimes we feel, it could be because of work, home life. I mean, is that prolonged stress, right? So, and we see it, burnout can look differently in people, but it could be that sense of exhaustion. Sometimes it's disconnection. Sometimes it's powerlessness, that feeling of being powerless or hopeless. So it's important to tackle. So I think the first step for this one is to recognize, acknowledge, become aware that you are showing some symptoms, let's say, that might be related to burnout, and that it's time to change some things around it. So this prolonged stress has a change, right? Because it definitely takes a toll. And then in my case, there's a word that comes yelling in my brain when I read this question, and it starts with a B. You want to guess again, since you're in the guessing mode
A
today?
B?
B as in boy. One good way to deal with burnout is another word with a B.
Take a break.
Could be, but I'm thinking of something else. So breaks.
I don't know, I'm stumped.
Boundaries.
Oh, we should have known
Of
that.
course. Maria's throwing up the signs. Got us.
People, when I started putting boundaries in my life, I'm gonna talk about my personal life, things also changed. Because talking about what's important, what really needs my energy, what about saying no when I want to say no and saying yes when I want to say yes, and not mixing those two, because we tend to put a lot of things on our plate and asking for help. We go back to the same things, but they're so important, asking for support and knowing that there are many things that might be on your plate that, one, are not important and you can get rid of those. Two, they can be out of your control. Three, you don't have to do them, somebody else can. Four,
You're on a roll.
I don't even know what four is, but
Can I add something there? I think, first of all, there's a wonderful book that I love. I often recommend it to clients, called Burnout: The Secrets to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. Highly recommend that book. But yeah, I think learning how to do that, how do you support your body to complete the stress cycle, is important.
One
To
of my
help deal with
boundaries that
burnout.
I love is learning to say no.
that's,
Like, I think that's huge.
Wasn't I just saying that to you in our training session this morning?
Were you?
Yes, I was. I said I have to stop saying yes.
Yes, you did say that.
Or not stop saying yes, because if you have a life
So
where
much
you
that
never,
could be a
yes,
sentence.
stop saying yes so much and say yes when you really feel it. It's a yes, and lose that fear of saying no or saying I cannot do this right now, or put it in the back burner, like for later. But sometimes we don't want to miss out the fun, or we don't want to say no in case that relationship gets hurt, or we're not, let's say that we want to be hired for a business. And if we say no, maybe they don't hire me again. But hey, there's a priority, and that priority is you and your well-being. So everything else really is negotiable. Everything else is negotiable.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Another mic drop. Okay.
Okay, you guys. So we loved putting this episode together, even though it was a bit of a hot mess behind the scenes. We love getting your questions. We love hearing from you. If something in this episode resonates with you, please drop one of us a message, an email, a DM. We don't care how you get it to us, but we would love to hear from you. And it's our birthday, 2-year anniversary. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening along with us. And we want to invite you to remember that the conversation and the support and the help doesn't have to end here. Each one of us works with people in different capacities. I personally have a 6-week group coaching program, Nourished and Thriving, coming up to get you through the holiday season. I would love for you to join me. I'll drop more about it in the show notes. Guys, what do you have coming up that people should know about?
I've got another progressive relaxation class coming up. So if you guys were listening to this episode and realizing that you need to manage your stress better, progressive relaxation can be a great way to do that. It's going to be November 25th, so right around Thanksgiving, which, as you know, can be kind of a stressful time. And it's going to be here in Annapolis, but also have a virtual option. So if you're not local to us, fear not, you can still relax with me. And I'll send more info about that in the future. Stay tuned.
You'll drop it in the show notes.
Yeah, that too.
And then for those of you who are local to Annapolis, remember there's the Emotional Fitness Studio. I have monthly events, affordable with different speakers, and there will be some online coming up. So keep in touch. We're here, and thank you for listening.
You're not going to close this out with the birthday song? They say it's your birthday. No, nobody?
Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara De Leon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.